With the latest headlines now this Monday night, it's the ITV News at 10.
No new COVID rules in England before New Year, despite record numbers of cases. The government made the decision after looking at data from the Christmas weekend.
Whilst we should all absolutely remain cautious, we don't think there's any need for any further measures until the new year, but of course we will keep that under review.
Also tonight, a big pandemic hit to the high street. Footfall on Boxing Day is down 40%.
Edged through and gone. Oh, he's bowled him.
Humiliation for England. Australia eye victory and a claim to the Ashes and... a joyful reunion after a search and rescue dog is lost and found.
This is ITV News with Julie Etchingham.
Good evening. There were record numbers of new COVID cases in both England and Scotland on Christmas Day. Scotland seemed to anticipate that and has already brought in new restrictions. But the Health Secretary Sajid Javid insisted there will be no new restrictions in England before the new year, instead urging people to remain cautious and get the vaccine. It means mass events can go ahead. Our political reporter Shihab Khan reports on a finely balanced decision.
It is life as normal here at London's West End tonight, and we can expect more of the same for the rest of the year. Despite rising COVID cases, the government has announced there will be no new restrictions in England for what's left of 2021.
Of course, people should remain cautious as we approach New Year celebrations, and take a lateral flow test if that makes sense. Celebrate outside if you can. Have some ventilation indoors if you can. Please remain cautious. And when we get into the new year, of course, we will see then whether we do need to take any further measures, but nothing more until then, at least.
That comes as the latest data shows the level of cases in England. On Christmas Eve, there were 105,000 COVID cases reported in the country. That rose to a record 113,000 on Christmas Day, before falling to 103,000 on Boxing Day. The latest figure now stands at 98,000. 7-day hospital admissions are also up across England, increasing 36% from the last week.
The key metric that policymakers will be looking at is the number of people in hospital. And we do see those creeping up now, perhaps not as quickly as we'd expected, but they certainly are rising. If they go up much more, plus staff absences, I think policymakers will be really pushed to take further action.
Those on the front line are warning they are already seeing the impact of the rise in cases among staff.
People are calling in and having to isolate, and there just aren't enough hands. And I think it makes people dread going to work, because it means that they go to work and however hard they work, it's not enough. It's very difficult to find time to do things like update families, all the things that you want to do to feel you've gone home doing a good job.
Wales and Northern Ireland have already introduced new restrictions to tackle the rise in cases. And so has Scotland, which had record COVID numbers over the Christmas weekend. Pubs like this one will now be limited to table service only, leaving those in the sector worried about lost business.
December is what gets you through January, February, when you're going into the cold winter months when people aren't spending money, and we really, really needed that. The whole industry needed it. So it's really disheartening to be hit with this right at the worst time possible.
As the festive period draws to an end, if cases and hospitalisations continue to rise, pressure will mount for further measures to be introduced.
And Shihab is here, and it's that key figure, that key metric of hospitalisations, it seems, that the government is going to be focusing on.
Absolutely. You heard from the Health Secretary there. They are looking at the data almost daily, but there won't be any new restrictions this side of the new year. And that's partly because there is a lag between cases rising and that translating through to hospitalisations. There has been an increase in the number of cases. We've heard about that for weeks now, but we don't know the full impact as of yet. The pressure that mounts on the government is because Scotland is doing something different, Wales is doing something different. But the difficulty for the Prime Minister is if he wants to do something different, he will need the backing of MPs, particularly those rebellious MPs on his own side who have been open about not wanting any further restrictions in place. If he decides to go down that path, he will have to recall Parliament if he were to do that now. If he goes into the new year. Parliament will already be sitting, but they will be debating, they will be combing through it, and it's a difficult balance to strike. But you've heard from the you've heard from the public health experts there who say we could be heading for that. It all depends on what the situation and how it unfolds.
And meantime, some news about the number of vaccines that people were having even on Christmas Day.
Absolutely, that remains a key part of the government's strategy to deal with this. The understanding is having 3 jabs is the best way to protect yourself from this new Omicron variant. And you're right, people were getting their jabs even on Christmas Day. 12,000 people took a break from celebrating Christmas to go get a jab. On Boxing Day, 24,000 people did that. It takes the total from Christmas Eve, Christmas Day and Boxing Day to 214,000 jabs. That's a lot of people during the festive period going out to get their jabs. And that's because the government's been pushing it really hard. We would have all got a text message today or yesterday on our phones telling us to go get those jabs. It's a real push from the government at the moment to get people out and ensure that they get those jabs to be more protected against this new variant.
OK, Shihab, thank you very much indeed for all of that. Well, even those parts of the UK that have brought back restrictions are still allowing shoppers to visit the sales, but many have chosen to stay away. Footfall at shopping sites across the UK were down by around 40% on pre-pandemic levels. If businesses were banking on bumper post-Christmas sales, well, it just didn't happen. From Coventry, Ben Chapman reports.
It wasn't what you'd call a rush to the shops in Coventry this morning. People choosing to forego their face masks and browse for a bargain online at home instead of venturing out, making this the quietest post-Christmas sales that Kathy has ever known. Is it a little bit dispiriting?
It's disheartening, you know, when I've worked here for 30 years, so we've seen mega crowds, you know, people queuing up out of the doors for Debenhams. I think there's a mixture of reasons. Obviously, the Omicron virus has put a lot of people off coming in.
Across the country, 38% fewer people visited a high street on Boxing Day than before the pandemic. In retail parks, the numbers were 40% lower. Shopping centres were hit even harder with a drop of 48%. Signs the pandemic may have permanently changed even Christmas shopping habits.
There will clearly be a somewhat permanent shift where more stuff is bought online than was in, you know, previous years, pre-pandemic times. So that will stay. But we do see people return to the shops as restrictions go down.
A reluctance to wear masks and a fear of busy spaces have put shoppers off. Like most retailers, this menswear store depends on Christmas trade to keep them going through January and February. But they remain optimistic that customers will return.
The high street has a lot to offer, a hell of a lot to offer. And only by coming into the high street you'll notice that.
And what are those things? What do you need to give people?
We need to give them the shopping experience. We need to show them that we're just not one-trick ponies. We need to show people that we're here and we're here to stay.
High streets were livelier today as more big shops opened their doors, but with numbers still down significantly on 2 years ago, the clamour for a Boxing Day bargain could be a thing of the past. Ben Chapman, ITV News, Coventry.
An emergency meeting between the government and energy bosses to address rapidly rising wholesale gas prices has failed to produce a result. That's despite the industry's warning that annual household bills could reach £2,000 next year. More than 26 energy suppliers have gone bust since September. Police are investigating a video in which a masked figure holding a crossbow says he intends to assassinate the Queen. It comes after a 19-year-old man was arrested in the grounds of Windsor Castle on Christmas Day. He's since been sectioned under the Mental Health Act. The funeral for Archbishop Desmond Tutu will take place on Saturday, New Year's Day. A requiem for the anti-apartheid campaigner will be held at St George's Cathedral in Cape Town, his parish church, where his ashes will be interred. And heavy storms have battered western regions of the United States, leaving thousands without power. Almost 30 inches, nearly 80 centimetres of snow fell in parts of northern California in 24 hours, causing power blackouts and road closures, including a 70-mile stretch of Interstate 80 into Nevada. Avalanche warnings are in effect across 6 states. Now, England's cricketers have a mountain to climb if they are to keep their hopes alive of regaining the Ashes. Day 3 of the third test begins in just over an hour, but already the result looks a bit like a foregone conclusion. A disastrous final hour on day 2 saw them lose 4 wickets and almost any chance of taking the famous urn. Chris Scudder was watching.
Sometimes it's just the hope that kills you.
And he's got him.
England's attack got them back in the match.
Oh, he's got him, bowled him, and it's Smith.
The fast bowling was hostile and they roughed up the old enemy. For the first time in the series, the tourists looked to be getting the upper hand.
That is a very good shout from Jack Leach.
Australia were bowled out for 267, a first innings lead of 82 that brought some hope.
That's it. Mark Woods finished it off.
But then it was England's turn to bat again, and you knew what was coming.
Oh, has that taken the edge? Everyone's celebrating, but the finger's gone, though.
And the very next ball from Stark, England were in tatters.
Close, it's close, and up goes the finger.
Another collapse, albeit against some sensational fast bowling.
Oh, edge through and gone. That's Hamid gone, Boland into the attack.
And with England trying to hang on, they crumbled.
Oh, he's bowled him, leaving it alone. Oh dear, England are imploding here.
The shadow of defeat looms again, and unless Captain Root can come up with a Christmas miracle, the Ashes are lost. There is one other long shot of at least saving the match. There'll be more COVID tests among the players before play restarts, amid fears of a surge in cases. It might be England's only hope of avoiding defeat. Chris Scudder, ITV News.
In the Premier League, Newcastle United and Manchester United played out a 1-1 draw tonight. The home side took the lead after just 7 minutes when Alain Saint-Maximin took advantage of some slack defending to bend an effort into the corner of the net. Manchester United looked off the pace but found an equaliser with 20 minutes to spare when Edinson Cavani scored. The result leaves Newcastle second from bottom and Manchester United 7th in the table. And finally, the ultimate example of a team looking out for one of its own. Last Tuesday, Norfolk Lowland Search and Rescue's search dog, Juno, went missing during a training exercise. 6 days on, and a group of 60 were still hunting for the German short-haired pointer. And against all the odds, she was found safe and well and returned to its owner. Mark McQuillan has the story.
This was the moment Ian Danks had longed for, but feared wouldn't happen. A man reunited with his best friend after 6 days of searching.
I can't believe how much people are doing for me and my family for our dog. But it's not just about our dog, it's a member of Lowland Rescue, and this is what it means to everyone from Lowland Rescue.
A team of more than 60 had been looking for Juno after she went missing in Woodland near Great Yarmouth.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to get used to do these search areas down here.
The search and rescue dog is used to helping bring others to safety, but now roles were reversed and the hunt was on to find one of their own. And after a search involving 5 different rescue teams, drones and boats, finally a breakthrough.
They think they found her. They think they found her.
This drive for the big reunion seemed so doubtful for so long, but a drone pilot proved his pedigree by spotting Juno on a small island nearby.
Well, we're looking for a high-vis vest because we knew she's wearing a yellow high-vis. I zoomed in, I was probably flying at about 30 metres and then zoomed the camera in, and she looked up at the drone as well. So yes, and she just sat there in the reed bed.
Thank you everyone, I really appreciate it.
This was a tale with a very happy ending, the perfect Christmas gift for Juno's owner. It may have arrived a couple of days late, but Ian won't mind that one bit. Mark McQuillan, ITV News.
He's a good girl. Just the sort of story we all know. That is it from us. The weather is coming next, but from me and the whole team here, good night.